On March 28, a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar and Thailand, leaving both countries in a state of devastation and shock. The tremor, which originated in the region's tectonic fault lines, caused widespread destruction, particularly in urban centers and mountainous regions. As the immediate aftermath unfolds, the affected nations are grappling with the destruction of infrastructure, widespread casualties, and the daunting task of rescue and recovery operations. The earthquake's epicenter was located in the northern part of Myanmar, near the border with China, but the tremor's effects were felt far beyond its immediate vicinity. The shaking reverberated throughout large portions of Southeast Asia, with strong tremors reported as far away as Bangkok, the capital city of Thailand, and other key cities in both countries. In Myanmar, the tremor brought down multiple buildings, including high-rise structures and homes. The collapse of a building in the commercial district of Yangon, the country's largest city, has been particularly tragic, with rescue teams working tirelessly to pull survivors from the rubble. In Thailand, the effects of the earthquake were felt most strongly in Bangkok. The shockwaves caused high-rise buildings to sway violently, resulting in the collapse of a well-known skyscraper in the city. While the structure was not among the tallest in Bangkok, it had been an iconic feature of the skyline. The collapse of this high-rise has drawn significant media attention, as the building had recently been renovated and was considered relatively modern in design. Rescue teams, both local and international, have been dispatched to the affected areas. As of now, the confirmed death toll stands at 3, but authorities fear that the number of fatalities may increase as recovery operations continue. The earthquake has caused extensive damage to vital infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and utilities, making it difficult for emergency teams to access some of the worst-hit areas. Communication lines in both Myanmar and Thailand have been severely disrupted, with several rural regions cut off entirely from the outside world, further complicating the relief effort. Eyewitness accounts from Bangkok describe scenes of panic as buildings shook and people rushed to evacuate office towers and residential complexes. In Myanmar, many victims were trapped in collapsed buildings, and rescue efforts have been hampered by aftershocks that continue to shake the region. The initial quake was followed by several smaller aftershocks, some registering up to 5.5 in magnitude, which have caused additional damage to weakened structures. Authorities in both Myanmar and Thailand have declared a state of emergency, with emergency services working around the clock to provide aid to those in need. Hospitals are overwhelmed, and temporary shelters have been set up to accommodate thousands of displaced individuals. Humanitarian organizations have begun coordinating efforts to provide food, water, and medical supplies to those affected by the disaster. In the aftermath of the earthquake, the focus has shifted to the long-term impact on both countries. Myanmar, which has been struggling with political instability and ongoing conflict, faces the additional challenge of rebuilding in the wake of this natural disaster. Thailand, while politically stable, now finds itself in the midst of a humanitarian crisis. Both governments have called for international assistance, and aid is pouring in from neighboring countries and organizations. In Myanmar, the earthquake has also led to significant concerns about the country's fragile infrastructure. Many of the country's buildings, especially in smaller towns and rural areas, are not designed to withstand seismic activity of this magnitude. This has compounded the challenge for local governments and aid organizations, who must not only provide immediate relief but also address the need for long-term rebuilding efforts. In Thailand, the situation is somewhat different. The country has stronger building codes, particularly in urban areas like Bangkok, but the collapse of a high-rise has exposed vulnerabilities in even the most modern of buildings. The incident has prompted local authorities to review building safety standards and disaster preparedness protocols to better respond to future seismic events. The city's preparedness infrastructure, including emergency response teams and evacuation procedures, will likely be scrutinized in the coming weeks as investigations into the building collapse continue. Both countries face environmental challenges as well, as the earthquake has triggered landslides in rural areas, blocking roads and isolating entire villages. The tremor's effects on the region's fragile ecosystems are still being studied, but there are concerns about the potential for flooding and further geological instability in the coming weeks. The local environment, already under pressure from deforestation and other human activities, may face additional strain due to the aftershocks and the displacement of large numbers of people. The international community has responded quickly, with several countries offering aid and sending rescue teams to help with search and recovery operations. Neighboring countries like India, China, and Laos have extended their support, while international organizations such as the United Nations and the Red Cross have mobilized resources to assist with relief efforts. The global response has highlighted the importance of solidarity in times of crisis, as nations come together to provide assistance to those affected by the disaster. In addition to immediate relief efforts, experts are warning that the earthquake may have long-term economic repercussions for both Myanmar and Thailand. Myanmar, already struggling with economic challenges due to internal conflicts and international sanctions, may find its recovery process more difficult. The tourism industry, which is a vital part of Myanmar's economy, has been hit hard, as many popular tourist destinations are now inaccessible due to damage. Similarly, Thailand, known for its tourism-driven economy, may also experience a decline in visitor numbers as the aftermath of the earthquake continues to affect the country's image as a stable tourist destination. The earthquake has also raised concerns about the vulnerability of the region to future seismic activity. Southeast Asia, particularly the area around Myanmar and Thailand, is situated along the Pacific Ring of Fire, a zone known for frequent earthquakes and volcanic activity. Geologists and seismologists have long warned that the region is at risk for powerful tremors, and this recent earthquake serves as a stark reminder of the seismic hazards faced by countries in this part of the world. Scientists are closely monitoring the situation, analyzing seismic data to assess the potential for further earthquakes and aftershocks in the coming days and weeks. As both Myanmar and Thailand grapple with the immediate aftermath of this devastating earthquake, their governments and citizens are faced with a monumental task of rebuilding and recovering from the destruction. In the face of tragedy, the resilience of the affected communities has been evident. Local volunteers have joined rescue operations, and survivors are coming together to help each other in the aftermath of the disaster. While the scale of the damage is still being assessed, there is hope that the collective efforts of governments,